one to the boys. Fox and Shane, set your minds free, no locks and chains. Do what you love, roll the dice. 50-50, we cold as ice. One thing cold, but the penny turn red. Can't let that crazy in my head, Wargaming.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Hobby Homies. We are your weekly tabletop podcast. I am Shane, hanging out with Fox.
Fox, that's me.
Oh, Dumb Fox is back again. And Churchy.
In the void.
In the void.
I'm not even wearing a hat, dude. You can't call me Dumb Fox. That's an assumption about how I'm going to participate in this episode. I might be an intellectual Fox. Ask me a question. Ask me anything.
All right. What's the secret to warp drives?
Pass. Next question.
You can't just pass.
I passed.
Okay. Today we're talking about how to start wargaming.
I mean, how do you start?
There's several ways.
Yeah, so potentially you're new into wargaming.
Yep.
In which case, it's a great episode for
Yep.
you. This is actually tailor-made, so to speak.
Handcrafted.
Or maybe you just want to familiarize yourself with what it was like to start. This is actually the beginning of a conversation as well.
It's an open conversation.
Please let us know in the comments
Yep.
what your thoughts on what we say are, but also you probably have your own ideas about how to get started into wargaming that might help future people watching this episode. And finally, you might have friends.
That's the biggest one, I think.
And I think if you have friends, that's awesome. Good for you.
Then you have a friend in me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a +1 for you. And maybe they want to get into wargaming and hopefully some info in here will help you.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's like the question is like, how do I get my friends and family into wargaming?
Yeah, for sure.
We'll touch on that. But I think we'll start this as that you, the listener, are someone who wants to start wargaming.
Okay.
There are a few questions we have to answer first.
We have to.
Right. First of all, I think is the biggest part of the scene is it whether the hobby side or the gaming side is more appealing to you.
Great point. Because if tabletop gaming is a coin,
Yep.
heads is hobby,
Yep.
Building, painting,
Yep.
tails is playing the game itself.
Yep.
And you're right, there are so many people that, enjoy the coin as the whole coin.
Yep.
There are some people who are like, oh, I could paint these models and never play. I don't care. And there are some people like, I just want to play the game and my goal is to get these miniatures painted as quickly as possible so that I can then
Play the game.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think once you know what side of that you want to go into, then you can start looking at what kind of miniatures you're interested in.
For sure.
Whether they're sci-fi, fantasy, or historical.
Yep.
And then to what level, like we've touched on in the past, there's like high and low fantasy. And I think there's the same with sci-fi.
For
There's
sure.
more like a grounded, realistic, let's talk, Earth in the year 2200 versus 40K.
Yeah. Which is Earth in the year
40K.
40K.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's facts. And like, even at the scale too, because if you want to, it's a very different experience playing a small skirmish game
Yep.
versus a full scale game. And a little bit of that will be a part of, like you said, which aspect you like more. If you like playing the game more and you really almost despise painting,
Yeah.
maybe skirmish games are the way for you, where you
Yep.
can sort of claw your way through painting 10 miniatures,
Yep.
but then you can play in the game
Absolutely.
versus doing the same thing for 60 to 80 miniatures.
Yeah. Or more if it's a quarter. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So there's a lot there, and straight away before you can even sort of pick up a paintbrush or start rolling dice. And I think they're probably the two most important decisions you'll make.
Yeah.
I think, I like to think I'm pretty like on the fence about gaming and hobbying. Some days I lean way more into hobbying and some days I lean way more into gaming.
Yeah. You feel like you kind of hold this coin, but sometimes you preference head to tails. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where do you think you sit on that?
Interesting.
Because I reckon you've changed. You've changed. You're not the same Fox that you were.
I definitely am not. And I think so much of getting into wargaming is there's usually like a external thing that gets you in before you even think about which side of the coin you prefer.
Yeah.
For me, it was seeing my mates play this really cool game of They had like Tyranids that looked like Zerglings and Space Marines that looked like Terran.
Yeah.
I was like, they're playing StarCraft. That's awesome.
I Actually.
Yeah, actually, this is not StarCraft legally.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's so cool. It's like a board game, but better.
Yeah.
And it's got these massive books with all these rules, and like the idea of it was so cool. I didn't even think about I was like, oh, I assume everyone who plays these games just loves painting the miniatures and loves playing the game. And it's not until you've already sort of committed emotionally that you realize that's not the case.
Nah.
And that was always the case with me. I would like buy these Tyranids and I would like build them, which would take hours. And I was like, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And then I would paint them and my paint jobs wouldn't look, like they do in the books.
Like on the box art. Yeah.
And that would take so long.
Yeah.
And I would paint 10 minis and I was like, whoa, wait, how many do I need for a game again?
Yeah. 40.
40, yeah. I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't like this army enough. And so I would buy a different one. And yeah, so it's quite a journey, and sometimes you get into it not even really thinking about those things. So it's great that you bring that forward because, if you're looking at something and you're like, that's such a cool faction.
Yep.
Maybe I listened to your episode on Skaven lore and there's a new Skaven box.
Yep.
That's so cool. Think about what that actually entails.
Yep.
But in answer to your question, where do I sit?
Yep.
Definitely still more on the playing of the games. Way more on the playing of the games. If I never had to paint a model, I would go for that option.
Yep.
However, I do love painting miniatures infinitely more than I did before.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of it's come out of like, there are quicker ways to paint miniatures now.
Yep.
To get them to a much higher standard. But it's also because I have such a catalog of painted minis. So now there's less pressure on me to paint minis to play games.
Yeah, you've got them there like for generic sci-fi or generic fantasy game.
For sure.
So you've already got a good selection now.
That's it. So anything I paint now is kind of because like, I really want to play that game.
Yep.
But I don't have to have these miniatures painted to play a tabletop game.
Yep.
I've already got that.
Yep.
So still, as I was when I got into it, more about playing the game.
Yep.
But I'm enjoying painting the miniatures now that the pressure of having to paint them is gone.
Yep. I suppose once you know where you're sitting on the hobby side, on the theme side, whether it be sci-fi, fantasy, it's time to go and pick up some minis, right?
For sure.
You can just go and buy some and then call it done.
You know what's crazy? If I may interject.
You may.
It's when we started playing, it didn't feel that simple.
No, it really didn't.
It didn't feel like you could just go and buy any miniatures.
Yep.
It felt like you had to make sure you knew what those miniatures, like what game they were from.
Yep.
What faction they were for.
Yep.
What that faction needed to be playable.
Yep.
And then how to play that game.
And how it would even work in with what you've already got.
And what terrain do I now need?
Yep.
And what kind of local scene is there?
Yep.
There are so many amazing miniature agnostic games that you can actually just go and be like, those minis look sick as fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're for.
Yeah, they could be anything.
I don't even care.
I think they look like
What the
space cops.
I don't know. What the heck is Stargrave?
Yeah.
Who even gives a shit? Those minis look dope.
Yep.
I'm going to buy those.
Yep.
And that's such a cool thing about like tabletop gaming right now.
And you can play it solo in your miniature agnostic game at home or with a friend or whatever. So now's the time. Honestly, now's the time. There's no better time than now. I feel like getting into the hobby 5 years ago, it was a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Than what it is now.
That's facts. Because I saw so many like Necromunda gangs.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is such a cool, like those are just cool looking miniatures.
Yeah, just on their own, with no context, they look cool as shit.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm never going to buy them because I cannot commit to Necromunda.
Yeah.
But if I was getting in now, I was like, I don't even care what the box says it's for.
Yeah.
Those are dope looking minis.
Yeah.
I'll just buy those and I'll find a game to make them work.
And there's so many games, dude, like just indie devs that just someone that could be you and I sitting there and they make rules for a game that they want to play.
Yeah.
And you can download those for free half the time.
Yeah, and if
or
they cost money,
$5.
use our affiliate links in the description below for Wargame Vault
Absolutely.
or Drive Through RPG.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you don't want to just go and buy your own minis, you can ask your friends or family who may be in the hobby. Maybe you might think back and you're like, hey, I had a weird friend in school who used to like push these little plastic guys around.
Yep.
I might reach out to them and I'll see what they do. Or
they're still playing.
Yeah, maybe they're still playing, or maybe they can at least help you with your beginning journey.
Yep.
Or they may give you a demo game if they're still in the hobby. It's a good way to reconnect too. But there are other ways as well. There's local groups online, Facebook pages, Discord servers, local communities that people would be so keen for a game. You can just say, hey, I'm new, like just type your city or your area, tabletop gaming club, and you'll find one. Like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe it's half an hour drive, maybe it's an hour drive, but you could chat with someone on there and say, hey, I really want to learn this game. Can someone teach me? And more often than not, someone's going to be like, yep, I'll teach you.
Yeah, that's so true too about, like we talked about, how accessible miniature agnostic rules are, but also like there are so many more Facebook groups.
Yeah.
And like Facebook's basically dead, but in terms of like groups,
Yeah.
it's thriving.
Yeah.
It's such a good spot to just be like, you type in Trench Crusade Australia.
Yep.
It's like, okay, cool. Here's a little niche game. Here's the country I'm in.
Yep.
Make a post, be like, hey, I'm playing in Victoria. Anyone else in Victoria?
Yep.
And people from your city or from neighboring cities are like, oh, yeah, I'm playing. You want to meet up? And suddenly you got a mate.
Yep.
Playing the exact game you want, the niche game you got.
Yep.
That you're playing because you found the cool miniatures that you think suit it. Mm-hmm. And suddenly that's something you couldn't have done a decade ago.
Nah.
Because that just wouldn't have, you'd have been like, oh, niche games don't exist for those reasons. There's no community, but now there is online.
Yeah. There's even clubs, like if you know where the groups meet, you can just go there. Like I went to the Westgate Wargaming Club, one of the first sort of nights that it opened up. Just popped my head in to say hello, and I ended up
Two Birds Brewery.
It was at Two Birds Brewery. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember.
Which is now shut down. RIP. But I went in there, started chatting to a dude, and he taught me how to play Kill Team.
Yeah.
Like 2021 version when it first came out with like Terry's box.
Yeah.
Taught me how to play that.
Yeah.
And like I could have been anyone. I could have been someone there, just like saw a whole bunch of people in the back room and just poked my head in. You know, like, and that's there for you too. Like, yeah, okay, socially it can be quite intimidating to just go to a random place and chat to a random dude.
Yeah.
But they're there, and those places are there in a way for people like you that want to get into the hobby or want to even just broaden your horizons when it comes to gaming itself.
Yeah.
Finding new games like that and having someone teach you is honestly the best way.
Facts. And also, like, don't ever feel, if you're kind of like rocking up to a table like you were for Kill Team person,
Yep.
don't ever feel like you're intruding or like you're taking too long with your turns or whatever. I promise you, if there's someone that's trying to like rope you into their game,
Yep.
there is nothing they love more than the fact that you exist.
Yeah. That
That's
you're
all
there
they care about.
with them right now.
Playing the game they love.
Yep.
I mean, you could take an hour.
Yeah. They'll love it.
They'll be
Ask
like,
every question. They'll love it.
they'll be like, oh, I'm so glad you asked about that.
Yeah.
Now I get to tell you
It's
about
6
that.
inches.
Yeah, it's 6 inches. The answer is 6 inches. No matter your question. Yeah.
Hello
there. Devil Kenobi.
Yeah. So yeah, with these tips, maybe you can find what game you're interested in and a group and just start in this journey that we call tabletop wargaming. It's a hard thing to explain. Like I try to explain to, let's call them normies.
Yeah.
What it is that we do. And it's so hard. It's so hard. And like, I feel like to be in that step and hear about this weird thing that, the guy at work does, or like your uncle or your friend or whatever, and be like, hey, that's kind of cool. I want to try that. And having like just one person to help you makes it infinitely easier.
Oh, so much easier.
But if there's no one to help you, that's what we're here for.
That's why we're here. We're here to be that one person that helps you.
Yep.
And yeah, you raise a great point. Like, I forget what it was, but it was great.
Thanks, dude.
When you were talking, I was like, I must say something about that.
I talked for too long. That's what happens.
Bro, it's not your fault. It's my small brain.
Oh, yeah. There wasn't enough crevices for it to stick in.
Yeah, nah, there's not. It just like, you guys know it slides right off. It's not Shane's fault. It's not even my fault, really. It's a condition.
You were born that way.
Yeah.
Dude. It's fine.
Yeah.
If anyone, it's your mother's fault.
Yeah, I blame her.
She's a lovely woman.
She's a lovely woman, but damn it, you couldn't have had one less child? Actually, there would have been 3 less childs. That'd be a lot. Like, the lineage would have been done. I'm the lineage. I mean, damn.
Yeah.
That's bottom dwelling. Anyways, speaking of dwelling on bottoms, so something that I also considered when you're getting into wargaming is, yes, make sure you understand what kind of part of the hobby you like.
Yep.
Do you think you'll be more painting and hobbying, like building?
Yep.
Basing, dioramics, that kind of stuff?
Yep.
Or the tactics of playing the game? I remembered what I was going to say.
Go.
Yeah.
I actually stalling for time moment. Just
No. That was a separate tangent. We'll come back to that.
Sure.
What I was going to say, put a pin in that. What I was going to say is what I've started to tell people, because I find the same qualm you find. It's like, it's difficult to explain exactly what we're doing.
Yep.
What we're participating
I just say
in.
it's kind of like D&D and leave it at that.
Yeah, it is. I say it's like it's like playing like a tactical board game, but it's kind of like an open world board game.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not playing on a board, we're kind of playing on a map.
So if they know what
terrain.
open world video games are, they get it straight away.
Yeah, and if they don't know what open world video games are and what board games
Not
are,
worth talking to.
Pretty much don't talk to them. So that's kind of on them.
Don't talk to me.
You're not worth my time. I have a very strict time of people allocation, and you do not fulfill it. I also think it's important to understand how often you can play.
Yep.
If you're going to be like, if the playing part of it is something important to you, if you're like, I feel like I fit more on that side of the coin.
Yep.
Think about how often you can play. Mm-hmm. Because if you can only play once a month,
Yep.
I would suggest making sure you only commit to 1 or 2 games.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I know that's hard to hear for myself.
Yeah.
But also other people, because if you can only play once or twice a month, there are so many cool games out there that you're going to want to play.
Yep.
But every time you say yes to a game, you're saying no to another.
To another.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that means you've got 12 games a year. And if you play 2 different games, you get to play it 6 times a year.
Yep.
If you're someone that can play every single week,
Yeah.
the
Or
world is your
multiple
oyster.
times a week. Sometimes you might have a night on the weekend and a night during the week free.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Play whatever you want to play.
And it's also important to consider like how many times you need to play certain games to like fully get them.
Absolutely.
Because like maybe you play something like 5 parsecs.
Yep.
Where you could play that once every 2 months.
Yep.
And get it and play it to its fullness.
Yep.
And have a good time. But maybe you play something like 40K where you need to play that at least once every month.
Yep. Just to stay on
Maybe
top of things.
just to stay on top of rule changes and whatnot, and to get the most out of your army.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like there's games like that just change so frequently that you play it once a month and it's still different every time.
Yeah.
And like different opponents and different armies, but then there's other games, like 5 parsecs from home or like Shatterpoint.
Yeah.
That changes so infrequently at the moment, still early days, but that you can just pick it up again later and everything sort of still feels the same, still drives the same.
Yeah, I say like I guess the more complex a game is, the more you're going to need to play it to get the fulfilling value out of it, because games like 40K and even Corvus Belli Infinity are games where I'm like, if you played that every single week, you still wouldn't be getting the most out of it, because I imagine if you're playing games with that depth and that tactical prowess to it, the enjoyment comes out of going, all right, I know what all my stuff does.
Yep.
And I know what all my opponent's stuff does. And then I need to like try and outwit them.
Yeah.
I know what they're trying to do 2 moves in advance, and thus I'm trying to circumvent that.
Yep.
But to do that, to understand all the different factions
Oh, yeah.
and how they play, you need to play so frequently.
And so much study in between too of just not playing games, just watching videos and reading stat lines and all that. So that side of the coin can be as shallow or as deep as you want it to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't feel like you have just because everyone's playing 40K. You know, all right, maybe if you want to do the gaming side of things, sure, maybe you're going to have to indulge every now and then, but you could also be the start of another community, of another game that you're interested in. You can say, hey, I know most of you guys play 40K, but hey, I want to play this.
Yeah.
And then someone might be like, you know what?
That seems cool.
My opponent bailed, so I'm free. Let's bugger it. Let's play and give it a go. And someone's trying to come in while we're still recording.
They're trying to break in. If we have to fight them, it's
probably my dog.
I nominate sending both of you to fight them.
Okay, it's probably my dog, so I won't fight him.
And I'll watch and I'll encourage you.
Sure.
Because let's be honest, I'm not achieving much.
So I think too, on that side of things of getting into the game, into the gaming side of things, take it however you want to take it. And on the hobby side of things, then you can do as much or as little as you like on your own time.
Yeah, and don't put pressure on yourself to like. It's kind of like when you're in year 12 and everyone's like, what are you going to do in uni?
Yeah.
You know, don't put so much pressure on yourself to like know what you actually want to get out of hobby straight away.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be like, oh, this game seems dope. And then you're going to put paint to a model and be like, oh man, this is actually, I love it. This is so therapeutic.
Yeah.
And then you're going to watch, you know, people who paint miniatures well.
Yep.
And be like, oh, I actually just like love this.
Yeah.
And playing the game is cool, but you know, whatever, I like this.
Yep.
And vice versa, you might be like, oh, I'll just buy a couple minis, paint them, see how I go. And then someone ropes you into a game of Kill Team or something small.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, this is, I don't care about painting minis. I want to play this.
Play games. Yeah.
And you're not going to know that until you get into it and have fun with it. So make mistakes, overspend, do dumb shit.
Yep.
And you'll find what you like about this hobby, and it's going to change year to year as well.
It really does. And sometimes it takes years to find that. Like, I think it wasn't until maybe this time last year that I really found my painting groove.
Yeah.
Like the way that I like to paint. And now that like I've accepted I'm not going to be the best painter in the world, I can still just get bulk stuff done. And you know, we've said it in the past, but like having one single painted army is better than 100 unfinished ones.
Facts.
Yeah.
And if we could lend one piece of advice, because we've scattered around, we've talked about a heap of different ideas around how to get into this hobby.
There's just so much though. Like it's not an easy question.
Yeah, no,
there's so many different levels and it gets convoluted and
yeah. And it depends on you as a person, and we're trying to, take all comers.
Yep.
But going back to the first point that you made, I would say go and buy cool miniatures and find games that suit those, not the other way around.
Yes.
Don't be like, I mean, community matters and how accessible a game is also matters.
On the gaming side of things.
For sure.
Yeah.
So if all you know is people playing 40K and you want to get into 40K, of course, go in and buy 40K miniatures and play that game and see if you like it. Demo it, make sure you like it before you commit. That's an expensive game. I'm not going to lie. It's $1,100 for an army. Not a lot of people tell you that. And that's not including books and paint. That's just the miniatures. For a 2,000 point army, you're spending $1,100.
Wow.
That's a fact. And then you obviously on the cycle of buying books and paints and hobby equipment and basic materials and stuff. So make sure you like that game before you buy it. But also feel confident in just going, I like all these cool miniatures. I'm going to go find a game, go watch YouTube videos about, if you've got sci-fi minis, go find sci-fi miniature agnostic games. And then find one friend to play that game with. Maybe you have to
bribe them.
Yeah, bribe them if you have to. whatever.
Buy them lunch. Buy them a beer. Just say, hey, can you just play this game with me?
Because what so many people are like, oh, community matters. I want to be able to find a game whenever I can.
Yeah.
But so many people fail to realize like having one good opponent, like having a mate that plays the game is as accessible as having 40 people that play the game.
Yeah.
You're only playing against one person every week.
Yeah.
And why not have that someone that be your friend
Yeah.
who also loves the game you're playing?
Yeah, yeah.
And eventually through both of your passion for the game, if you enjoy it, you'll rope in other people.
Oh, yeah, there's always a third friend that you can rope in to sit there and listen to you talk about hobby for half an hour every night.
Yeah, every single night for the rest of their life, even if you have to pay them. Just do it.
Just has a look of realization on his face.
He's like, wait a minute.
Is that me?
This whole thing has been one big me.
There's also a couple of things too. Like if you have a friend that you want to try and get into the game, or someone comes up to you and says, hey, I've seen you play that weird thing with the other guy. Can you teach me how to play?
Yeah.
There are a couple of things. First of all, say yes.
Yeah.
Say yes,
Yeah.
I will teach you.
Yeah.
And don't, I think it's easy to assume so many things that come naturally to a seasoned gamer. Jargon's one big thing.
Oh,
It's like, just go easy on the jargon. When you say you need a 2-up, it's like, explain what that means,
Yeah.
right? Because like there are little things that just, it's a no-brainer to everyone that's played, but someone that hasn't played before, that means nothing.
It's so funny that you say that because I'm always reminded of when we played with Jimmy.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of Shane's mates, we're all playing, we've been doing a podcast for 5 years.
Yep.
We've been in the hobby for a decade.
Yep.
We're playing a game. We've roped a friend in and we've explained all the rules as best we can. And we
Yep.
go, all right, so for that one, you just need a 2-up. And he's like, so does that mean
2 dice.
2 dice? And we're like, no. We're like, it means you need to roll a dice and you're looking for a 2-up. And he was like, so do you mean like a 2 or more? Like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're like, that's exactly what that means.
Yep.
You're right.
Yep.
How could you know that? We didn't explain that to you. We assumed you knew what a 2-up meant
Yep.
because
Yeah.
that's so true.
Just dumb shit like that you just don't even think of until until you're there. And also don't play to win, right? Like, don't don't game this noob just because they've never played before. Like it's not a victory for you.
Yeah.
But then also like don't like just make silly decisions that throws the game or something like that. Like have a good game. And help them with every step of the way. But don't do the gotcha moments and the stratagems and all the nonsense that you can pull. Like you're there just to. I'd even go to the point where I say like forget about objectives. Like just play like a kill mission or something like that. Like the bare bones, the bare basic. Don't worry too much about like terrain rules and all that sort of stuff. Like just water it right down, or play a game like One Page Rules or something like that, where it's just streamlined and easy, and I think you can get someone pretty hooked.
Oh man, if you can treat even Shatterpoint, and One Page Rules, you can treat like extended board game.
Yeah.
For those people that your friends that are tactically minded, or you can go, all right, well, I've got all the painted miniatures that you need and all the tokens and all the rules that you need. Here's your 6 miniatures.
Yep.
Or 8 miniatures. Here's mine. Here's how you play the game. And you just treat it like and eventually they play a few games. Same with One Page Rules. They play a few games. They're like, oh, what if I wanted my own miniatures? And you're like, well, okay. For Shatterpoint, here's where you go.
Yeah.
Here's the kind of miniatures that you got. For One Page Rules, here are the factions. And here, pick a faction that you like. The idea of.
Yep.
And then they can be like, oh, I really like the idea of jackals. And you're like, well, one cool thing is that you can download, you can buy jackals from their website, or you can find someone who prints jackals. They're quite loosely based on Kroot, and so you can buy Kroot.
Yep.
And there's new Kroot boxes for 40K, or you can be like, all right, they're just humanoid things, so you could go look for these.
Yeah.
And so you can treat them like boxed games. You can start people on genuine boxed games like underworlds.
Yep. Yeah.
Where all they need is a pair of scissors.
Yeah.
They can clip out things and push fit them and play them straight away without painting them because they're coloured.
Underworlds is the perfect gateway game, right? Because it's a board game.
Yeah, it's a board
literal
game.
board game.
Yeah.
And it's got the elements of the dice rolling and the strategy that you can just take off a hexed board and kind of do the same thing with a tape measure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's funny, we actually asked, this wasn't deliberate or pertaining to this episode at all, but we asked in our Patreon Discord, on Patreon.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the Discord channel. I was going to post it in there. But yeah, we asked on a Patreon how would they get people into war games, and they said, so many of them said, like, find the person who you think would be into war games.
Yep.
Find what kind of universes and lore they like. They say, oh, I like Fallout.
Yeah.
Great, let's buy the Fallout starter box.
Yep.
I'll slap chop the minis, and then we'll play through the game together and discover it together. So
Yep.
there's that way as well. And we mentioned the two sides of the coin, but even on those sides, there are so many different ways to do it.
Yeah.
You might like playing the game, but do you like playing it competitively? You want to play it every single week. You want to have the absolute most tweaked list, and you want to play against other tweaked lists, and you want it to be cutthroat, and you want to come out on top. You're a Yu-Gi-Oh player. You're a Magic the Gathering player. You played League of Legends at Diamond and above. You commit to this thing and you want to be the absolute best? Or is the enjoyment playing with your mates?
Yeah.
And just having a beer and throwing down some dice and just, you want to compete and have a good time.
Course. Yeah, everyone like wants to win. Like no one's playing a game. I want to lose.
Yeah. But if you're like, I want to win, but I also want to tell a story, but I also want to have fun, and I want to make sure my mate's having fun, then you're a casual player.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be drawn to different games than those uber competitives.
Yeah.
And the same is true on the painting side of the coin. Maybe you want to get shit done, and you want it to look tabletop standard, and seeing an army or 10 miniatures tabletop standard is such a joy to you.
Yeah.
Or maybe you want to work on one miniature for 30 hours and you want to aspire to be a golden demon painter.
Yep.
And so finding your groove and the way that you want to approach the hobby is important, but don't put pressure on yourself to know that straight away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Buy cool miniatures.
Yep.
Play some goofy games.
Yeah.
Just find yourself.
And you'll get stuff wrong. You'll get rules wrong, and half the time that's more fun than getting them right. Like the amount of times
experience,
we played games and we're like, oh, so we cheated with everything.
Yeah.
Like everything was wrong.
And it's like, oh, you know what? It's funny. That didn't detract from how much fun we had at all.
Yeah.
It's almost like the rules don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we hope that you can take these words of wisdom.
These ambiguous words of words.
Yeah. That you can then join our strange hobby or help your friends and family get into it too, because honestly, the more people doing this, the better. Right?
So much
like,
better.
There's no reason to keep anyone out of the hobby.
Facts,
it is just more players, more opponents, more people to share tips and tricks with and enjoy the company of. Like the people that we've even met, like just wargaming is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely. I feel like the best part of wargaming, we talk about the two sides of the coin. The best part of wargaming isn't the coin at all.
Yeah.
It's the people that hold all these weird different coins that we've met along the way.
You're like, what is that?
Yeah. I'm like, well, that's a weird fucking coin. But I love that you love that. Yeah. It's so good. The people in this, because we're all like-minded. We've all got we're all after the same thing.
Yep.
And sometimes that's just very different things, but we're all in this hobby together, and it's dope. It's sick.
It is dope.
So how do you get into Warhammer? What? Wargaming? Buy some cool miniatures, paint some shit, see if you like it, play some weird games, see if you like it.
Play some weird people.
Play against some weird people, see if you like them.
Yeah. You will like some of them.
You will like some of them, and you know what? You'll dislike some of them. And you'll stop playing certain games because the community isn't for you.
Yeah.
And you'll start playing games you didn't think you would like because that community is dope.
Or you'll start your own community. You'll start that little game that you've heard of that no one else has, and then before you know it, at your local club, there's 10 other people playing it.
Yeah. And sometimes you'll love a game so much that even if it's like you said, no one's playing it.
Yep.
Eventually, out of your passion, a scene will boom, or maybe you'll find a weird little game that only you and one other dude like. But or dudette. There's
Yep.
dudettes.
Yes, there is.
And you'll play against dudes and dudettes
Yep.
every single week, and you'll love it.
Yep.
And you'll get as much out of it as someone going to tournaments for other games every single week.
Absolutely.
So I guess, how do you get into wargaming?
Just
I
do
don't
it.
fucking know. Just do it.
Just do it.
Have a go.
Yep.
See what you like.
There's no better way to say it than just jump in. So we hope to see you in the Discord.
That's the best place. That's the best place. How to get into wargaming? Get in the Discord.
Join our Discord.
Get in the hobby lobby and be like, I don't know what to do.
You're going to get told.
Be like,
What to
I
do.
kind of like Star Wars. It's all over after you say that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of like Fort. It's all over.
Yep.
Warhammer seems cool. It's all over.
Yep.
What's all this mantic shit? It's done. I like Halo. You get fucked.
Yeah.
We got stuff for everyone.
We do. We do. You can find links to our Discord on hobbyhomies.com. From there, you can find links to our Patreon as well for $2 a month to get early access to videos like this
Yeah.
and our other stuff. And we have a whole bunch of legends on the Patreon who we couldn't thank enough.
True, we have legends and other
Homies.
tiers.
Main homies.
Yeah.
Churchy's looking at me like, should I press the button? Please, Churchy, press the button.
He's putting the thumb up. He's putting the thumb up. That means go.
Shout out to these legends, homies. Chuck Am, you're a new homie. Welcome, Chuck Am. Main homies, Tiger Claw.
Also, Vumu, you're a homie.
Matty Matt. Legendary MJ Moose, Fat Boy Axe Annex. Real one, that's you, Numa. The GOAT, we have Burnsy, Fun Dinosaur, Gridlock, Hockers, Journeyman.
We got Black Apollo, Elko, Churchy, Rad, Ollie, Pinny, Aggro, Don Hua Don, Pure Blind, Jackson V, Nathan A, Mini Warmat, Oz Wargaming, Analog Line, and Big Roach. And you know who else?
Pure Blind.
Pure Blind.
You said you wouldn't do it.
I'll do it every week. Didn't I say I'd do it every week?
Yeah.
I'll never forget Pure Blind.
Yeah.
I'll never forget Big Roach. And I'll never forget all of you homies that put money, actual cash
Yeah.
into our pockets so that we can grow this show every week.
You got new lights?
We got new lights. I don't know if you know this, but we've never pocketed a cent. Never pocketed a cent.
We haven't made a dime.
And we never will.
Yeah.
Because if you're giving us money, it means you like this. And if you like this, that makes us feel like we should give you more.
Yep.
And thus we'll continue to try and do that as best we can every single week.
Yep.
And we're excited about some of the stuff we're putting in. We've got a second channel.
Yeah.
With battle reports. And
Video
we
content.
feel like that's going to be going gangbusters versus how it's been going. So
Yeah.
we're planning on
We've got
putting
some stuff coming.
We've got some stuff coming.
Changing up our recording cycle, our schedule, and we're just giving us more time to film battle reports.
Yeah. Previously we had 3-4 cameras.
Yep.
Now we can have 8. We don't have 8, but we
No.
can have 8.
But we've got like 6.
6 is pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Which you'll see coming to a battle report near you.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks to all of our patrons and other people who give us support in other ways.
Yep.
If you're one of those people that has more time than money,
Yep.
interact with us on all the socials. That actually helps tremendously.
Yeah, it really does. It helps us. It helps the AI overlords share our content with other people, humans, and more eyes means more stuff from us.
Yeah, facts. Comment on our YouTube, jump in our Discord, jump on the Facebook. We've got an Instagram as well. All of this you can find on hobbyhomies.com. We love you so much. It's ridiculous.
It's
Thanks for sharing all your weird hobbies.
too much. No, it's not too much.
It's too much. No.
We're borderline
too much. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Our wives are starting to ask a lot of questions about all these people that we interact
it's
with
like,
on our Discord.
You keep mentioning this guy, Vumu. Who's that?
And what do you mean there's someone called Fat Boy?
Yeah, what does that mean?
My wife was like, what do you mean you're playing games with someone called Fat Boy? And I'm
not
like,
his
well, his
actual
real
name.
name's Derek. She was like, I don't believe you. And I was like, you're right. Derek is a made up name.
Yep.
So anyways, I was like, anyway, I won't dox him. But you're right. All of you have become our friends, and that's the best part.
Yep.
So thank you so
It's
much.
amazing.
If you want to get into wargaming, join the Discord, and we'll see you there.
See you next week. Hey, Root. Stop doing that, dude, please.
Woo! Big up to the boys, Fox and Shane. Set your minds free, no locks and chains. Do what you love, roll the dice. 50-50, we cold as ice. One thing cold, but the penny turn red. Can't let deck, right there in my head, Wargaming.